My name is Rachel Monroe. I'm 31 years old, living alone in a 3-bedroom house I bought just north of Chicago in a quiet neighborhood in Evanston. I work in molecular development at a mid-size biotech firm called Halverson Labs. Most people wouldn't guess that I lead a team of 6 or that I've managed a project with a 7-figure budget. I don't wear heels. I bike to work when the weather's good. My kitchen's more functional than stylish. I clip coupons out of habit, not necessity. What most people don't know is that I built this life brick by brick in silence while trying to forget the home I came from. It's late April when the message arrives. I'm slicing carrots for soup when my phone vibrates on the counter. The name makes me pause. Mom, a number I haven't blocked, though I've come close more than once. I dry my hands and open it. Rachel, I hope you're well. Haley's engaged. We'd love for you to come to the party next Saturday. It would mean a lot to the family. The word family sits like a weight in my chest. I read it twice, then lock the screen without responding. The knife in my hand doesn't move for a long moment. I stare out the window above the sink where early dogwood blossoms shift in the breeze. The kitchen is warm, smells faintly of ginger, and for once, completely still. It's been nearly 5 years since I last set foot inside my parents' house, since I walked away with a diploma in one hand and a rental truck key in the other. The silence between us hasn't been hostile, just practiced, like people who nod at each other in passing but know better than to speak. Haley's getting married. I shouldn't be surprised. She always did everything faster, louder with an audience. That night, I don't sleep well. The past buzzes around the edges of my mind like a light bulb about to burst. I wake up before sunrise and sit at the kitchen table, spooning cold yogurt from the container and staring at my phone. I don't open the message again, but I don't delete it either. 3 days later, I find myself at the corner bookstore in Evanston's downtown. It's tucked between a plant shop and a bakery that always smells like cinnamon. I drift toward the back where the gift section is. My fingers move over trinkets and tea sets before settling on something small. A silver photo frame with the words, "Wishing you happiness," etched at the bottom in cursive. It's plain, elegant, sincere. That's enough. At checkout, the clerk wraps it in white tissue paper and tucks it into a brown bag with a sticker that reads, "All the best journeys start with truth." I don't laugh, but something flickers in my chest. Maybe resignation. Maybe just irony. I place the frame on my kitchen counter when I get home and stare at it. The frame is not expensive. It's not glamorous, but it's real. I wrap it myself the next evening, folding the paper carefully, taping down each corner as if precision could stand in for peace. I text my mother late Friday night. Just one line. "I'll be there. Thanks for the invitation." She replies in under a minute. "Wonderful. We'll have a private family moment before the event." Just a few words. Private family moment. The phrase chills me more than it should. Saturday arrives cloudy. The sky undecided. I dress simply a black dress that hits just above the knees. Small earrings flats I've owned since grad school. I take a cab to Lake Forest and keep my eyes fixed on the trees outside the window. By the time I arrive at the venue, the clouds have given way to thin, bright light that spills over the front lawn of the mansion they've rented. It's the kind of place people post about: cream walls, manicured hedges, and a valet with white gloves. Inside, the air smells like cinnamon and rosewater. I can hear music playing faintly, something instrumental expensive. A man in a tux offers me champagne at the door. I shake my head. My hands are already full with the small wrapped box and a quiet knot in my stomach that hasn't loosened since I crossed the city line. I follow the signs to the main hall. White silk covers every chair. Crystal glasses line the tables. Haley stands in the center of it, all laughing in a dress that glitters like glass. Her hair is curled to perfection, her makeup soft and glowing. She doesn't see me right away. I place the gift on the long table near the entrance and step back. I could leave now. No one would notice, but I stay. The room buzzes with the kind of warmth I always imagined I'd feel if I ever belonged in it. Laughter echoes from every corner. People with names I don't know talk about honeymoon plans, real estate, and designers. I stand near a wall, clutching a water glass. Then I see her, my mother. Christine Monroe, once a high school math teacher, now dressed like she stepped out of a weekend lifestyle magazine. Her eyes scan the room until they land on me. There it is, the smile. Not warm, not excited, just the kind of smile someone wears when their plans are working. "Rachel," she says smoothly, gliding toward me, "we're so glad you came." Before I can answer, she leans in. "Your father wants to see you for just a moment. He's in the side room at the end of the hall. It'll only take a second." I nod before I know why. As I follow her down the hall, the music fades. My heels click against the marble, and I become aware again of just how quiet this hallway is compared to the reception. At the far end is a closed door. "He's just inside," she says, and opens it. The room smells faintly of vanilla and lemon. There's a table against one wall, a window overlooking the garden, and a man standing with his back turned. My father. I step inside, the door shuts behind me. The air feels still too still. I haven't even spoken yet, but I already know this wasn't about the wedding. This was always about me. And the house. And something tells me they're not asking. Not this time. I was 5 years old when my sister Haley was born. It was the first time I remember my world going quiet. Before her, I was the only child in a modest 3-bedroom house in northwest Evanston. My mother, Christine, stayed home in those early years, keeping the living room spotless and packing perfect lunches. My father, Harold, worked in insurance and liked puzzles, long walks, and complete silence during dinner. When Haley arrived, everything changed overnight. My mother became someone else entirely. She ordered custom blankets embroidered with Haley's name, bought matching outfits on Etsy, and cooed over her like she'd just given birth to royalty. My father, who used to take me to Mason Park on weekends, spent his Saturdays recording Haley's hiccups like they were museum artifacts. I remember standing at the edge of the nursery door, watching her sleep in a white bassinet under a floral mobile. My drawing in hand, a blue horse flying through the clouds. I had used every crayon in the box to get the color just right. I walked into the kitchen where my mother sat feeding Haley and held it up proudly. She barely looked at it. "A blue horse," she said, adjusting Haley's bottle. "Why not draw something that makes sense?" Haley draws the prettiest sunflowers. I didn't speak. I folded the drawing into a small square and slid it under my bed that night. It stayed there for years, the creases softening but never quite disappearing. From then on, I stopped bringing my drawings to anyone. As Haley grew, the house seemed to orbit around her tiny voice. She had a giggle like wind chimes, bright and effortless. Every laugh of hers was met with an audience. Every mood swing was a family emergency. My mother framed her kindergarten doodles and hung them along the hallway. My own sketches stayed in the back of my notebooks, hidden between math problems. I was nearsighted by 2nd grade. I read constantly, shoulders curled over borrowed library books, the world behind my glasses blurred and distant. My mother laughed about it to her friends. "Rachel's smart, but she's a little stiff. Not like Haley. She just sparkles, doesn't she?" They all nodded. I nodded too. That's what I learned to do. Nod when it hurt. When I was 10, I won first place in the state short story contest. It was the kind of thing schools send newsletters about. I had worked for weeks on that story, rewriting it late at night with a flashlight tucked under my chin. The award ceremony was on a Thursday evening. My parents didn't come. "We have Haley's ballet trial that day," my mom had said. "She's nervous. You understand?" I came home with the certificate folded inside my backpack. My mother glanced at it, then went back to stirring soup. "That's nice," she said. "Just don't get too serious with all this writing stuff. It'll make you more uptight." My father looked up from the TV just long enough to ask, "Was there a prize?" I started taping my report cards behind my bedroom door after that. Every semester, every a neatly layered, hidden like proof of something I couldn't explain. No one asked. But when Haley brought home a B+ in English, my mother made a vanilla cake and played jazz during dinner. "She's just so well-rounded," she said, slicing an extra piece for my father. I chewed leftover rice and listened to them talk about her future. They used words I'd never heard in relation to me. Leader, light limitless. I didn't feel jealous. I felt invisible, like someone they had decided was complete before I ever began. At 13, I was already the silent fixture of the house. I did the dishes, folded laundry, packed Haley's school bag when my mother was too tired. My room became my only space. I had a little reading light, a worn teddy bear from when I was 6, and a growing pile of award certificates no one had ever seen. One night I fell asleep at my desk, my stomach hollow from skipping dinner. I woke the next morning to my mother tapping my shoulder. "Stop being dramatic," she said, pulling open the blinds. "There's still laundry in the machine." By 16, I had stopped asking for anything. No rides, no help with applications, no questions. I learned to cook with whatever was left in the fridge. I took the late bus to my job, shelving books at the public library, and came home just before curfew, silent as a ghost. Haley had her own key, a new phone every year, and endless practice sessions for her choir competitions. I gave up my room one winter when hers got too cold and she couldn't sleep with frozen toes. I stayed on the couch for 3 months. No one ever thanked me. My mother used to say, "You're the older sister. You should know how to sacrifice." And I did again and again. But the truth is, I never knew where sacrifice ended and erasure began. I remember lying on the carpet once, headphones over my ears, listening to Chopin. The music filled my ribs like air. I dreamed of leaving, of finding a place where no one asked what Haley needed before noticing I was even there. When I was 17, I got into the University of Michigan on a full scholarship. I didn't tell anyone right away. I wanted to hold it just for a while. A quiet, glowing secret. When I finally announced it at dinner, my mother didn't look up from her plate. "Well, you'll need to find a ride, then. We're helping Haley with her college tours that week." I nodded. I bought a one-way Greyhound ticket, found a rideshare online for the move-in boxes. I packed everything I owned into an old green suitcase and a backpack stitched with my initials. I left on my 18th birthday. There was no celebration, no congratulations. Haley was in the living room, live streaming her latest bedroom decor makeover. My mother texted me one line, "Don't bring shame to the family." I read it while waiting on the platform. Cold wind slapping against my face, the scent of diesel in the air. I remember watching the horizon and thinking not just about escape, but about air that didn't feel borrowed. In Ann Arbor, I saw snow covering a porch roof. For the first time, I sat by the dorm heater with a warm cup of instant coffee and realized that comfort doesn't always come from family. Sometimes it comes from finally being able to exhale. I majored in biochemistry. Not because it was glamorous, because it felt like order in a world that never gave me any. I fell in love with the way molecules danced, how tiny reactions made life happen. And for the first time, someone called me gifted. Not as a consolation, but with real belief. I worked, I studied, and I built a life with no one's blueprint but my own. And slowly, I stopped needing them. Or so I thought. The engagement party is held at a mansion in Lake Forest, 30 miles north of the city. It's not just grand, it's curated. Every chair is wrapped in white silk. The scent of cinnamon and gardenia fills the air like something designed, not accidental. Strings of lights are woven through glass archways, and waitstaff in black jackets pass out champagne with practiced grace. I walk in quietly, dressed in a simple black shift and a pair of flats that don't make noise on the marble floors. My hair is pulled back neat but not sculpted. In my hand is the small wrapped box, a silver photo frame with "Wishing You Happiness" engraved along the bottom. I find the gift table lined with gold-wrapped packages, brand names peeking from under decorative ribbons. Mine looks small in comparison, but I place it down with both hands. Not in shame, just certainty. Enough can still mean something. Haley floats through the crowd like she's hosting a movie premiere. Her gown sparkles beneath the chandeliers, each layer carefully pinned to move as she does. Jason stands next to her, tall and handsome in a navy suit. His arm rests on her lower back, possessive but not unkind. They look perfect, at least from a distance. We make eye contact, Haley and I, for a single second. Her smile holds, but her eyes blink once a beat too long, like she wasn't expecting to see me. I walk past the main table and toward the perimeter of the room where the windows stretch 2 stories tall. Outside, the sun is falling behind the trees. Inside, everything is polished, controlled. I don't belong here, but I knew that before I arrived. I've barely had time to scan the crowd when my mother appears beside me, dressed in pale gold, her lipstick too red for her skin tone. She leans in like we're about to share a secret. "Your father would like a quick word," she says, her smile fixed. "He's waiting in the side room. Just a few minutes." I hesitate, but only for a second. The tension is already here, might as well walk into it. She leads me through a short hallway lined with framed photos of Haley and Jason engagement shoots in warm sepia tones posed in vineyards and candlelit cafes. Each picture feels like a page from someone else's life. The side room is smaller, dimmer. No music filters in here. There's a table by the wall with hors d'oeuvres untouched. My father stands near the window, arms folded. He doesn't greet me, just says, "You've settled down well, haven't you?" "I'm doing fine," I reply. My voice is even. He nods once, then turns fully toward me. "Haley's getting married. She needs a foundation, a real start." I brace myself. It's coming. I feel it like cold wind through a cracked window. "You live alone," he says. "That house in Evanston. You're not really using it. It's too much space for one person." My mother steps in from behind, placing a hand on his shoulder like this has all been rehearsed. "If you really love Haley," she says gently, "this is your chance to show it." My stomach twists. "Show it how?" "Transfer the deed," my father says. "Make it part of the wedding. Call it a gift." I go still, I stare at them both. The air feels heavier than it should. "A gift," I repeat. "It's your house," my mother says, as if that somehow softens the demand. "You bought it, you've proved you're capable. But now it's time to think about the bigger picture." I say nothing. Let silence speak. "She's starting a family." She adds, "You don't have children. You don't even have a partner. This house will go to waste, sitting under one person." I don't flinch, but something inside me begins to shift. A line that's been drawn quietly for years begins to darken. "You think I don't deserve to keep what I've worked for?" I say quietly because I don't fit your mold. "No, Rachel," my father replies, annoyed. "Don't twist this. This is about family, about sacrifice." There it is. "You've always been independent," my mother adds, her voice turning sharp around the edges. "But Haley needs support. She's never had what you have." I let out a dry breath, almost a laugh. She's never had what I have. "You mean responsibility?" Silence, scraping by without help while you called me rigid. My father steps forward. "This isn't about the past." "It always is," I reply, still calm, "because you keep writing it over my present." The room holds a pause like a held breath. I reach into my purse and pull out a folded document. It's not the official deed, but a copy just in case. I place it on the table between us. This house, I worked 10 years for it, saved every bonus, took side jobs, lived with roommates into my late 20s just to get here. It's not a decoration. It's not a wedding favor. They look at it but don't touch it. "You're choosing pride over family," my mother says finally. "No," I answer, "I'm choosing peace over manipulation." The door opens a crack. Someone peeks in, probably looking for my father. "We're not done here," he says quietly. I look him straight in the eye. I am. I turn and walk back through the hallway alone. In the main room, the music is louder again. Guests are smiling unaware. Haley is still posing under the floral arch camera flashes lighting up her face. Jason stands a few feet away, chatting with a group of men. He seems unaware of any drama. I slip back to my spot by the wall, pick up my water glass. My hand trembles slightly, so I set it down. They wanted my silence, my sacrifice, my home. But all they've earned is this moment of stillness where I finally said no. Not with rage, not with drama. Just clarity. And that's stronger than anything they've ever taught me. The glass conservatory in Highland Park looks like something from a wedding magazine. Sunlight pours through the tall arched ceilings, turning the cream velvet chairs a shade lighter. Floral arrangements tower in glass vases, blush-colored roses draping like vines. The air smells like peonies and vanilla sweet and expensive. I arrive just as the ceremony begins. No one greets me. No usher offers a program. I find my name on a place card tucked into the farthest table near the entrance. It's close to the coat rack. From where I sit, I can barely see the aisle. The guests filter in all pastel gowns and polished shoes. Haley walks down the aisle, glowing her dress a cascade of ivory silk. She smiles like she's always known this day would come. Jason stands waiting at the front, composed, his hands clasped. The vows pass in a blur. I catch fragments forever. Partnership truth. But they float like leaves disconnected from the cold beneath my ribs. After the ceremony, the crowd spills into the cocktail hour. Waiters circulate with trays of chilled wine and shrimp skewers. I take a glass of water and step near a ficus tree in the corner, hoping to disappear into the foliage. Then I see her, my mother. She walks toward me with the same smile she wore at the engagement party, like everything is going exactly as she planned. "Your father would like a moment," she says smoothly, gesturing toward the back of the hall. "Just a quick word. Please don't make this harder than it has to be." I hesitate, but my feet follow her. We weave through the crowd past the edge of the reception space into a curtained-off corner near the cake table. The music fades. There's a slight hum from the overhead lights. My father stands alone by the towering white wedding cake. The frosting looks airbrushed, the sugar flowers too delicate to be real. A metal cake base rests beside it on a small table, polished heavy. I stop a few feet away. "Rachel," he says, his voice quieter than usual. "You still have a chance to make this right." I say nothing. "We're not asking for a lot," he continues. "You can live anywhere. You're not married. You have no dependents. You've made your life work. No one's denying that. But this," he nods toward the room beyond the curtain, "this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment for your sister." "I've already said no," I reply calmly. My mother appears beside him. "You're choosing this. Don't pretend we didn't try to handle it gently." Gently, I repeat the word, catching on something inside me. "Stop acting like a victim," she snaps. "You always twist everything into a slight. We raised you to be generous. And now, when it really matters, when your sister needs a real gesture, you withhold it like a punishment." "You didn't raise me to be generous," I say, my voice flat. "You raised me to be invisible." A pause. My father exhales, slow and sharp. "This house obsession, it's pride, nothing more." "No, I say it's peace and it's mine." The silence turns hard. My mother's mouth twitches, but she doesn't speak. Then my father steps forward. He's closer now. I can see the tension in his jaw. "You don't get to shame us," he says. "Not here, not today." I'm not the one who's ashamed, I answer. His hand moves fast. Not toward me at first, but toward the table. He grabs the metal cake base, a wide, circular stand with carved ridges. And then it happens. A flash of motion, a sickening thud. White light explodes behind my eyes. The world tilts. I hit the floor hard. My head spins, and a wet warmth slides down the side of my face. I lift a hand and feel blood, thick, sticky, trailing across my cheek and pooling on the gleaming white tile. The room trembles around me. Somewhere glass shatters. Someone screams. I hear a man shout, then running feet. The curtain pulls back. Logan appears first. Then others. I see Daniel, one of Jason's friends. My vision blurs, but I hear his voice clearly. "She's bleeding, I saw it. He hit her." My mother stands, frozen hands clenched. "You're only hurting yourself," she says, eyes burning into mine. "You could have just said yes. This didn't have to happen." "I just witnessed an assault," Daniel says, pulling out his phone. "We need emergency services now. Someone call 911. "Don't call," my mother barks. Jason pushes through the growing crowd. His face goes pale. What the hell is going on? My father steps back. His hands still shake. He looks down at me like he doesn't know what he's done. Logan kneels beside me, placing a napkin gently against my temple. "Stay awake," he says. "Don't move." I try to sit up, but the room tilts again. The sirens arrive within minutes. Red and blue lights flicker against the glass walls. Officers step inside, scanning the space. One of them walks directly to my father. "Harold Monroe?" the officer asks. "Yes," he answers, still dazed. "You're under arrest for suspected aggravated assault." My mother rushes forward. "It's a misunderstanding. She's making this bigger than it is." The second officer steps in. "Ma'am, please stay back." "She's trying to ruin her sister's wedding." Christine Monroe, he asks. Yes. You're also under arrest for obstruction and complicity. Handcuffs click into place. The room falls silent. One by one, guests begin backing away. Phones are still recording faces shift from polite interest to quiet horror. I see Haley in the doorway, her veil pulled back. She stares at me, not shocked, not sorry, just upset, like I ruined something sacred. Jason doesn't speak to her. He moves toward me, then stops. They hit her, Logan says again, his voice steady now, at their daughter's wedding. Paramedics arrive with a stretcher. I feel them lift me gently, their voices low and practiced. I catch only fragments. Scalp laceration, mild concussion possible. The cake, still untouched, stands a few feet away, towering perfect uncut. I'm wheeled past it, blood dripping down my arm, and I think about the layers inside sugar flour artifice. Just like the day, just like them. As the doors open to the outside air, Logan walks beside me. He doesn't let go of my hand. The last thing I see before I'm loaded into the ambulance is my mother screaming my name, not out of worry, but rage. Not once does she ask if I'm okay. And that tells me everything. The sound of sirens still echoes faintly as the ambulance pulls away from the glass conservatory. Through the back window, I catch a glimpse of the guests scattered across the lawn. Some are still in groups, others on their phones, avoiding each other's eyes. The music has stopped. Logan sits beside me, his expression unreadable. One hand rests lightly on the rail of the stretcher, close, but not intrusive. The paramedic adjusts my oxygen mask, checking my vitals, speaking softly over the engine noise. I nod when she asks questions, though every movement sends a dull throb through my skull. At the hospital, they wheel me into the emergency department. Fluorescent lights, soft footsteps, the sharp scent of antiseptic. They keep me in a private bay, a curtain between me and the rest of the world. A nurse unwraps the gauze taped to my head. Her hands are gentle. She doesn't ask what happened. She doesn't need to. The attending physician, a young man with a steady voice, confirms what I already know: a mild concussion, a laceration requiring stitches, no signs of internal damage. He speaks like someone who has seen worse, but his eyes flicker when he reads the notes from the EMT. Logan never leaves. He paces when the doctor steps out, sits when I close my eyes, gets up again when the nurse returns with saline and thread. They numb the skin and begin the first stitch. I flinch only once. 8 total, the nurse murmurs to herself. Outside the room, I hear murmurs, shoes against tile, quiet questions. It's strange what the mind clings to, how the curtain rustles when someone walks past. The way Logan shifts every time someone opens the door, like he's ready to intercept bad news. I ask for water. He brings it to me himself. You shouldn't be the one helping, I say. I don't mind, he answers. I believe him. Back at the venue, everything crumbles. Logan's parents, Margaret and Thomas, had watched everything unfold from near the cake table. They had seen the blood, heard my mother's voice, felt the weight of silence that followed. By the time my father was handcuffed, Thomas had pulled Jason aside, away from Haley, away from the crowd. This is not just a misunderstanding, Margaret said, her wine glass trembling slightly. That man hit his daughter in front of 100 people. Jason listened in stunned silence. Haley hovered nearby, her face tight. I had nothing to do with that, she said, her voice brittle. But you knew, Margaret said calmly. You stood there while she bled. I didn't want to make it worse, Haley argued. It was supposed to be a good day. I didn't know he'd go that far. Thomas stepped in. A man doesn't go that far without a long road behind him. Haley looked at Jason, waiting, but he wasn't looking back. She ruined my wedding, Haley said, the words sharper now. No, Jason said slowly. Your family did. The room seemed to tilt. The guests were watching phones, lowered. Conversations stopped. Jason turned to his parents. Let's go. Jason, Haley called out, her voice catching. Please don't do this. He paused, looked at her, then shook his head once. I can't marry into this. No one argued. Even Haley's closest friend slipped out the back without a word. She was left standing under the floral arch alone, her dress still flawless, her expression hollow. The caterer packed the food into trays no one would take. The cake, still pristine, was wheeled into the kitchen. No one sang, no toasts, no dancing. Just silence and the quiet unmaking of an event meant to impress. Later, the venue staff made an announcement. Due to unforeseen circumstances, today's celebration will end early. No one needed further explanation. Back at the hospital, I rest in a room dimmed by late afternoon light. The headache has dulled, replaced by a heavy tiredness. Logan sits beside me, arms resting on his knees. "Your parents are in custody," he says, "both of them." I nod. I feel no joy in it, just stillness, like standing after holding your breath too long. "And Haley?" I ask. He hesitates. "The wedding's off." I close my eyes, not because I wanted that, but because it never should have been built on a lie. "You don't have to talk," he says gently. "Just rest." I open my eyes and look at him. "Why are you here?" I ask. My voice is hoarse. "Because you shouldn't be alone." He means it. I shift slightly on the bed, careful not to pull the stitches. The door opens. A nurse steps in to check my vitals again. Logan stands to the side as she works, then returns to his chair once she leaves. His presence doesn't feel like a performance. It doesn't ask anything from me. That's new. The window looks out onto the hospital parking lot. A child walks by holding a red balloon. A nurse in pink scrubs sits on a bench, sipping something warm. The world keeps going. But mine feels paused. I reach for the cup of water on the tray beside me. Logan helps holding it steady. I sip slowly, the coolness cutting through the dryness in my mouth. "Do you think they'll press charges?" I ask. "I think you should," he answers, "but it's your decision." I nod again. The idea feels heavy. Not wrong, just heavy. I look down at the blanket covering my lap, at the pale blue bandage wrapped around my head, at Logan's chair pulled close like a lifeline. I'm tired. Not just from the pain, from the years behind it. But for the first time, I'm not tired alone. And that changes everything. The hospital discharges me 3 days after the wedding. The concussion is mild. The cut on my temple required 8 stitches, and the swelling has gone down, but I still flinch when the bandages are changed. Not from the pain, but from the memory of how they got there. Logan picks me up at the front entrance. He helps me into his car without a word. The drive to Evanston is quiet, the city passing by in soft shapes. Spring has turned the trees full and green again. Outside, life looks normal. Inside, nothing feels the same. When we reach my house, Logan walks me to the door, but I don't invite him in. I pause, fingers resting on the key. "I just need to sit with it for a while," I say. He nods. "I'll check in later." After he leaves, I walk inside and close the door gently behind me. The air smells like lavender and soap. Everything is where I left it. The clean counters, the carefully stacked mail, the bowl of lemons on the table starting to go soft. I sit, and I do nothing for a long time. That evening, Logan returns. This time, he brings someone with him. "Rachel," he says at the door. "This is my cousin Marcus. He's an attorney, a good one." Marcus is in his early 40s, sharply dressed with a calm expression that doesn't press. "I've heard about what happened," he says. "If you're open to it, we can talk through your options." I nod, stepping aside. We sit at the kitchen table. I keep my eyes on the dark blue folder in his hands. It looks like something official but not heavy, as if justice can fit neatly between 2 covers. "I know this is hard," Marcus begins, "and there's no pressure. But from a legal standpoint, what your parents did is serious. You have a strong case." I say nothing, so he continues. "There are 3 main charges we can pursue. Aggravated assault coercion specifically related to attempted unlawful transfer of property and prolonged emotional abuse. The last one is more complex, but with testimony and documented patterns, it can be included." I stare at the folder. My hands are folded on the table, thumbs pressing into each other. "They're still my parents," I say quietly. Marcus nods. "That doesn't change what they did." A silence stretches between us. I think about the wedding, the weight of the cake stand, the blood. But more than that, I think about all the years that led to it, the times I stayed silent, the times I was expected to. You don't have to decide now, Marcus offers. But I already know. I reach for the folder. He opens it slowly, pulling out the first form. My name is printed at the top. Rachel Monroe. The defendant names below it. Harold and Christine Monroe. I scan the lines, my eyes catching on words like injury coercion testimony intent to harm. It feels surreal to see it typed out like this, like a summary of a life I kept locked in memory. Marcus slides a pen toward me. I hold it, my fingers tightening. The page blurs for a moment, not from tears, but from the weight of the moment. I think about being 10 years old, winning a writing contest, and coming home to a house too busy to notice. I think about the time I spent a birthday on the couch because Haley wanted my room. I think about the blue horse drawing still folded in a box under my bed. Then I sign. One signature. Clean final. Marcus gathers the papers and begins organizing them back into the folder. We'll move quickly, he says. We already have footage from multiple guests. Witnesses, your medical records. Once I file this, the court will assign a preliminary hearing date. What happens after that, I ask? We prepare, he replies, and we let the truth do its work. After he leaves, I sit in the same chair at the kitchen table. The light outside has faded to dusk. I don't turn on the lamp. I just sit in the dimness, the blue folder now resting on the table like something quietly alive. The house is silent, but the silence doesn't feel like absence anymore. It feels like space. Space I claimed, space they tried to take. And now space I will defend. The courtroom smells faintly of paper and old wood polish. The ceiling fans rotate slowly overhead, pushing the heavy summer air through the gallery. It's quiet, but not silent, the kind of quiet filled with tension, like everyone's holding their breath at once. I sit at the front table beside Marcus. He's sorting through a folder of documents, his notes clipped and numbered. Across the aisle, my parents sit stiffly in formal attire, my mother in a beige blazer, my father in a navy suit he wore to every job interview and graduation, except this time they're not proud parents, they're defendants. The judge, a woman in her 60s with silver-streaked hair and a calm presence, enters promptly at 9. Her name is Judge Fields. She reviews the case file quietly before looking up at the courtroom. We're here today to examine the charges brought by the plaintiff, Rachel Monroe, against Harold and Christine Monroe. Her voice is steady, almost gentle, but it carries. Marcus rises first. He begins not with fire, but with facts. This case, he says, is not only about a physical act of violence, but about a long-standing pattern of emotional degradation that culminated in something undeniable, caught on video, witnessed by guests, and documented in a hospital report. He shows the video first. 6 angles, all grainy, all clear. My father lifting the cake base, the arc of his arm, my fall, my blood on the white tile, the guests gasping, the paramedic rushing in. There is no sound in the courtroom as it plays, only the soft clicks of someone adjusting a chair, someone clearing their throat. Then come the photos, my stitched temple, the bandages, the dried blood on the gown I wore that day. Marcus lays out the hospital report signed by the attending physician detailing the nature of the wound, the concussion diagnosis, the timeline. Then he calls the first witness, Daniel Jason's colleague. He speaks calmly from the stand. I saw the father strike Rachel with the cake stand. I called 911 myself. There was no confusion. The second witness is Margaret Logan's mother. She explains how she watched the moment unfold, how she saw Christine standing by unmoved. She didn't rush forward, she didn't scream, she stood there like it was expected. Jason testifies next. She didn't ruin the wedding, he says. They did, I saw everything. My mother's lawyer objects once or twice, but the judge overrules. The evidence is already too clear. When it's my turn to take the stand, I walk slowly. The room feels larger now, colder. I sit palms flat in my lap. Marcus begins gently. Rachel, can you describe what your relationship with your family was like before the incident? I nod, then speak. My childhood wasn't violent. It was quiet, but not the safe kind of quiet, the kind where you slowly disappear. I describe Haley's birth, the shift in attention, the years of being told I was rigid serious, not like your sister. I describe how I taped my report cards behind my bedroom door because no one asked. How I won awards, came home, and was told not to become uptight. How my parents asked me to give up my house, my one place of peace, so my sister could have a better wedding. And when I said no, I was punished. Not with silence this time, I say, but with a steel object to the head. Marcus pauses. Do you still consider Harold and Christine Monroe your family? I look at them. My mother's face is blank. My father's jaw is tight. No, I answer. They raised me, but they don't see me. When cross-examined, the opposing attorney tries to pivot. Would you say your father lost control out of emotion? Emotion doesn't leave bruises, I say. Control does. He asks if I had previous grudges if I sought to ruin the wedding. I brought a gift. I reply, a silver photo frame. It said, wishing you happiness. That was all I wanted. When I return to my seat, Marcus offers me a small nod. My parents are called to testify. My father insists he was provoked that I disrespected the family in public. My mother speaks of family traditions and how she thought I would come around. Neither apologizes. Neither acknowledges the wound on my head. When they step down, the judge turns to the jury. 9 people mixed ages, mixed backgrounds, but their expressions are united. She sends them to deliberate. I sit at the table, my hands folded on the smooth oak surface. The same hands that once folded drawings no one looked at. The same hands that turned door handles in silence, carried laundry baskets, and held bus transfers to escape a house that never saw me. Now they rest here in the open in full view. It takes less than 2 hours. The jury files back in quiet and composed. The foreperson, a woman with graying curls and a voice like gravel, stands. We, the jury, find the defendants guilty on all counts. A beat of silence. Then the judge speaks. In light of the clear evidence and the consistent testimonies, I hereby sentence Harold and Christine Monroe to 8 years in state custody with no eligibility for parole for the first 6 years. My parents don't move. Then she adds, they are also ordered to pay full restitution for medical expenses, legal fees and emotional damages totaling $320,000. The room stays silent. No cries, no pleas. Just the sound of the bailiff stepping forward, handcuffs in hand. I don't look at them as they're led away. Not out of cruelty. But because I've already seen enough. Logan sits behind me. I hear him exhale slowly, a sound like relief, but also release. When I finally rise, I feel taller than I have in years. Not because I won, but because I spoke. It's early fall when the lavender in my backyard begins to pale. The blossoms fade from deep violet to soft gray blue, the stems still upright, sturdy against the breeze. I crouch in the garden with a trowel in hand, gently cutting back the dried heads to make room for next spring. The soil is cool and dark. The sunlight filters through amber leaves overhead, casting everything in gold. This is how most of my mornings begin now. After the trial, life didn't snap into something perfect. It unfolded slowly, like a paper flower in warm water. Some days were harder than others, but every day I woke up in the house I protected, and each time I opened my eyes and saw the soft beige walls and the light spilling across the hardwood, I remembered that I chose this, that it was mine. Logan and I married 4 months after the verdict. There was no big announcement, no save-the-date cards or champagne towers, just 30 people in our backyard sitting on folding chairs beneath white string lights. Marcus officiated. His wife brought lemon tarts. My dress was simple, cotton lace with a ribbon around the waist. Logan wore a dark blue suit and forgot to remove the price tag until 5 minutes before the ceremony. We laughed when we noticed. Our vows were handwritten. I won't promise you a life without storms, Logan said, standing under the cherry tree. But I'll be the one holding the umbrella every time. I couldn't speak when it was my turn, so I slipped a silver ring onto his hand and nodded. He understood. We spent our wedding night eating cake from paper plates on the back porch wrapped in a shared blanket, the stars just barely visible beyond the rooftops. A few weeks later, we planted daffodil bulbs along the walkway and built a small bookshelf in the living room. Logan called it the wall of proof. I filled it with every book I'd carried since college. Every report I filed, the framed certificate from the writing contest I won at 10, finally displayed. One shelf remains empty. He says it's for whatever comes next. I didn't return to Halverson Labs full-time. I still consult on molecular projects, but only 2 days a week. The rest of my time is spent at a place called Restore. It started with an idea during recovery. Marcus had said offhandedly, "You know how many women go through what you did and never say a word." I couldn't stop thinking about it, so we started something. Restore is a nonprofit legal and emotional resource center for people abused by their own families. Quiet abuse, often unpunished. The kind that leaves no bruises but takes years to undo. We run workshops, offer free consultations. Sometimes we just listen. Logan handles the logistics and bookkeeping. Marcus takes the legal lead. I meet with survivors. Not as a therapist, but as someone who understands the quietness that can bury a life. One woman, late 40s, sat across from me last week. Her voice shook when she said I thought I was weak for wanting out. But then I read about you and I packed a suitcase that night. She cried as she said it. So did I. Some nights I still wake with the image of that cake base in my father's hand, but the fear doesn't grip the same way. It loosens faster. It passes. We replaced the tile in the kitchen this summer. The new ones are soft gray, warm to the touch, easy to clean. I cook dinner most nights. Logan makes the coffee. We eat at the small round table by the window, often with music playing softly in the background. Nothing grand, just quiet, just ours. People sometimes ask if I regret it taking them to court severing ties so publicly. I tell them no. Not because I wanted revenge, but because I wanted release. Because silence had shaped too much of my life already. Because I needed to say out loud that what happened wasn't okay. That what they did wasn't just tradition or tension, it was harm. And because I wanted to build something that wouldn't require me to disappear to belong. Sometimes Logan finds me in the garden, still kneeling in the dirt, long after the trimming is done. He doesn't ask what I'm thinking. He just sits beside me, places a hand gently on my back. The ring on my finger is plain. No diamonds, just silver shaped into a circle without seams. It doesn't sparkle, but it stays. Tonight, as the sun sinks lower, I go inside and pull out a box from the hall closet. It holds old notebooks, college essays, and a leather-bound journal with peeling corners. I open it to the first page. The handwriting is small and tight. My 16-year-old self wrote, "One day I will get out of this house. Not just move away, but really get out. I don't want to belong to pain forever." I trace the words with my finger. I had forgotten I wrote that. But I remember how it felt. To hope in silence, to dream without saying it out loud. I close the book and hold it in my lap. The windows are open. The wind smells like dried leaves and lavender. This is not the life I was handed. This is the life I made. One piece at a time. One truth at a time. I didn't just walk away from my family. I walked toward myself. And now every morning I get to choose peace. Not because it was given. Because I fought for it. Rachel's story is not just about survival. It is about choosing dignity over silence and peace over performance. For years, she lived in the shadows of her family's expectations, unseen but quietly enduring. And when the moment came to speak, she did not shout. She stood. She proved that justice does not always come with fanfare, but sometimes with steady truth and unshaken resolve. In reclaiming her home, her voice, and her future, Rachel reminds us that self-worth is not given, it is built. That independence is not loud, it is lived, and that even when you are overlooked, your strength matters. If you saw yourself in her journey or know someone who needs to hear this, please like this video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more true stories of courage, healing, and the quiet power of choosing yourself.